轻薄、刻薄、渊博，酸味一体，甜、酸、苦、辛、咸，五味俱全。饮食男女虽是性也，也长出拨开历史纷尘的睫毛。柴米油盐或许平常，却点亮看透岁月篇章的瞳孔。欢迎来到八哥的小屋 ，Welcome to Pug's Cabin。
Hello everybody. Today I wish to sharing you a story about a nation, the Netherlands, and its traditional dish, stamppot. The reason I'm interested in this nation is start with when I'm trying to make a video to commemorate Audrey Hepburn. According to some studying, I found that her unique aura of elegance might inherit from her mother, a Dutch baroness. And one of her motivation to be a UNICEF special ambassador are based on her childhood experience in Dutch famine. As I have a deeper studying and understanding about this nation, I realized, there are many aspects worth digging out and sharing to others. As a consequence, I decided to make this video. To most of people, if we're talking about the first impression about this piece of land, might be windmills, tulips, lots of dikes, maybe the klompen, the wooden shoes. For me, when I was a child, Dutch, the word means Dutch pea, Dutch cavi. As I grown up, I realized, Philips Electronics, Royal Dutch Shell are quite famous Dutch brands. When I went to school, I heard the legendary about Rembrandt and Vincent van Gogh. After I reading the history, I start to be aware of the Protestant Reformation. In Dutch word was called building store. Yeah. Through the English studying, I know the meaning of a Go Dutch. In the university, professor told us the notion of Dutch disease, Dutch auction. From my friends, they tell me the two meanings of Dutch caps. So all these small pieces of impression describe me a rough profile about this nation. Very distinctive and very impressive. Netherlands is such a nation that you will not pay attention and talking about every day, like the US, Russia, the European Union. No. But eventually you will realize its influence spread in everywhere. It is very indispensable. Many things you thought was very appropriate today, you should give the credit to Dutch's initial exploration and practice. So in the following content, let's think and discuss why it's so important and what the legacy is still working on in today's world. Before we start, I have to clarify some confusions in terminology. The Netherlands is the name of the country, and the language is Dutch, and the people there are called the Dutch. So there are two provinces, what's called South Holland and North Holland. traditionally, some people refer the country as Holland, even though it's technically not correct. Netherlands means the Low Countries. It's been known to the history will trace back to a Dutch revolt in the summer of 1566, alternatively named 80 Years' War. In that summer, people rushed into churches to destruct the religious images, statues, holy articles, and even land book. There are about 5,500 churches was destroyed within a short term. That's why this social movement was referred as a building storm. It's a Dutch word. It means iconoclastic fury. The nature of this movement is that Dutch people fight against the rule of a Roman Catholic King Philip II of Spain, rather than the Christianity, the religion itself. However, the war for independence and freedom lasts for decades, ended with the Treaty of Münster between Spain and the Netherlands in 1648, I think. There's one thing I need to highlight is that the Treaty of Münster is a part of the Peace of Westphalia. That's quite important. This revolt was one of the first successful secessions in Europe and led to one of the first European republics of the modern era, the United Province. It's hard to imagine there's a piece of land have no king or queen in that period. It reshapes the Europe continental structure of geopolitics through the Holy Empire of Roman, Spain, and France, Sweden, and the Dutch Republic, of course, agreed to respect one another's territorial integrity. Westphalian sovereignty became to a genitor of modern nation-state sovereignty. This is the first time the Dutch dared to be a pioneer to impact the world. Today, there are about less than half of Dutch population are atheist, and a third of them are Catholics, and about a fifth of them are Reformed. We can roughly draw a line from Zeeland province, which is located in the southwest, to the Groningen province in the northeast. Religious distribution can be divided into two parts. North and the west of this line, basically closer to the coast, are relatively more Reformed, and beyond the coast are relatively more Catholics. And of course, Protestant Reformation is consistent of so many branches, such as Baptist, Calvinist, also called Reformed, Lutheran, and most Dutch Americans are Reformed. I took some photos about Dutch Reformed churches with my friend in New York City a couple of weeks ago, because New York City belongs to Dutches and called the New Amsterdam. So from these photos, we can see they are still maintaining lots of elements from Catholic's architectural style. The most distinctive feature to tell us it's a Reformed church is that there is no symbolized sacrificial Jesus Christ on the church. From this social movement of Dutch revolt, we can see, in compare with faithful religion, like most South European countries, Dutch people are more emphasized on pragmatism. Since the Netherlands got rid of the Spanish colonial oppression and the Roman Catholic religious persecution, the development of Netherlands outbreaks tremendous energy and capacity. Karl Marx and his followers assert that the modern history of the world is beginning with the English Civil War. But actually, the new era should start with the Dutch Revolt, because there was a great outcome born in this social movement and changed the world. Was called the limited company. Previously, pay the debts is an obligation, and as a common sense has been practiced for 1,000 years. In Proverbs 22:7, it said the rich one rules the poor, and the borrower is a servant to lender. But the key distinction about this kind of company is the notion of limited liability, which was something began in Holland. And the notion is that you could put your money together to form a company, and the directors have a limited liability, limited company borrowed itself, the shareholders, and has responsibility, but only up to the amount of money you put in. From then on, cost of capital is the real king. Governments, authorities, kings or queens all became tool and were driven by the capital. The limited liability company as a new form of organization in the colonial era makes Dutch keeps a very special superiority, and it became very competitive. The Portuguese and Spanish opened the era of grand voyage and follow with the colonial expansion. Their domination in the New World are relatively primitive and brutality. Lots of Native American civilization being destroyed. In compare with them, Netherlands is a tiny country. There's no king or queen or a strong government are able to support the global exploration. However, the limited joint stock company provided a platform, a great opportunity that breaks down the idea of perhaps certain kinds of lifestyle only should be the profits of royalty or the rich or the people who were born with certain kinds of advantages. Family background, pedigree, social hierarchy are no longer important. The value of each individual are affirmed. People were released from the idea, which was mentioned in the Holy Bible, is that it is easier for a camel to go through a needle's eye rather than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. In contrast, to struggle for a better life was encouraged. Individuals are always weak, but through the financial market, all materials like a neighbor, land, natural resources are all concentrated together in the form of a limited company to cooperate, and became much more efficient and effective. The Dutch East India Company, in short is a VOC, was the world's first limited liability corporation, which originated from the Netherlands. It is more powerful than politics, wars, religions, and even the science itself. In 17th century, it changed the time, changed the interpersonal relationship, and even the rules of competition between countries. Nicholas Murray Butler was the president of Columbia University. He said, "The limited liability corporation is the greatest single discovery of modern times. Even steam and electricity are far less important than the limited liability." The 17th century can also be known as the Dutch century, because capital-driven colonial practices were more efficient and effective than the administrative order in comparison with the Spanish. And the Dutch, depends on this advantage, undercut the world spice trade from Portuguese. At that time, the Dutch is could be the incontrovertible maritime overlord. Just in Amsterdam, there are over 100 shipyards, and even no any opponents close this number. The Dutch naval fleet is twice as powerful as the combined British and French fleet. In its peak time, there are 3/4 of European merchant ships belongs to Dutch. The number of merchant ships up to 15,000. It reminds me of the ancient Phoenicians, who were also the overlord of the Mediterranean in its period, and they controlled the trade along the coastal countries. The differences are the Netherlands was also the financial center of the world at that time, mainly because the Dutch shipping capacity was very formidable, and rely on those ships, the Dutch win all over the world the sea coachman title. So it became the organizer of global trade. No matter you came from a Baltic trade circle or a Mediterranean trade circle, even the Spain and Portugal colonists in American, Asian, Africa, everything has to concentrate together in Amsterdam, the global financial center of that era. Just like the new Amsterdam in today's world. The Bank of Amsterdam was the first modern central bank established in 1609, I think 85 years earlier than the Bank of England. You will find that although the Spaniards plundered a lot of gold, silver in the new continent, they bring the money back to Spain. But starting from the port of Seville, this money has to be re-transported to Amsterdam, because only in there you can find all the merchandise you need from all over the world. In other words, the more wealth they plundered, the richer the Dutch. In the 17th century Europe, no matter you are the relatives of a royal family, a merchant, the proprietors, all went to the Amsterdam for money, because where the interest averaged only 3%, 3% on its heyday. Can you believe in that? 3%. From this case, you can easily find out the capital motivated the commercial operation is much more efficient and effectiveness than a national administrative operation. In Chinese, we have a few terms referred to Dutch. As I mentioned at the beginning, green pea was called Dutch pea in Chinese. Actually, the Dutch pea also means potatoes in Ming Dynasty, because the colonists was initially bring them to Taiwan and soon spread to everywhere in the mainland. By the way, guinea pig, a very adorable rat like a rodent. In Chinese, we call Dutch catty. When I was asking my friend, then she replied to me, there's nothing special about those animals. It's like a normal farmer pets of lots of other places, like you have in the Bonnies. Today we can realize the Spanish, Dutch, maybe the English traders brought guinea pig from their origin in South America to Europe. Maybe they brought them to Asia too. So from this case, we can realize Dutch definitely play a very important role in the world trade. And there's also a very interesting phenomenon. There's no matter where the certain things initially came from, as long as you are the first one to introduce to somewhere, and the people there will remember it in your name. The rise of the Netherlands in economy is more based on its advanced political system and the innovation in business model. Does not mean that they are superior to other people. They have the exactly same weakness that we have. Therefore, while the Dutch continues to provide us with successful experience, they also shows us the lessons from failure. The most painful and impressive lesson will be the tulip mania. Tulips primarily grow in Central Asia. Turks bring them to Asia Minor, and the Dutch introduced them to Western Europe. At that time, due to the influx of a large amount of hot money, leading to the soaring of price in the Netherlands, and this issue provides the condition for speculation. Meanwhile, willing to take the ventures and the fervent pursuit of wealth are in the nature of Dutch. Hence, the tulip market became to a paradise for speculators and adventurers. At the peak of tulip mania, some kind of a single tulip bulb sold for more than 10 times of annual income of a skilled craftsman, which could purchase 2 loads of wheat, 4 loads of rye, 4 fat oxen, 8 fat swines, 12 fat sheep, 2 hogsheads of wine, 4 barrels of beers, 2 barrels of butter, and even 1,000 pounds of cheese. As more and more people participated in this game, in order to convenient transaction, Dutch created a type of a formal futures market where contracts to buy bulbs at the end of the season were bought and sold. Furthermore, based on the characters of a tulip bulb, Dutch auction also been introduced to this field. In the traditional Dutch auction, the auctioneer began with a high asking price for some quantity of items. The price is lowered until a participant is willing to accept the auctioneer's price for some quantity of the goods in the lot, or until the seller's reserve price is met. Napoleon said, "Imagination rules the world, but sometimes imagination can also ruin the world." In February of 1637, tulip traders could no longer find new buyers willing to pay increasingly inflated price for their bulbs. As this realization set in, the demand for tulips collapsed, and the price plummeted 90% within just 6 weeks. Thousands of people were bankrupted, and some of them committed suicide afterwards. Tulip mania is the world's first bubble. As a consequence, the Dutch financial industry is rapidly sluggish, and the commercial economy has begun to decline. This economic affair indirectly led to the Netherlands ceases to be a big power, whereas the Great Britain in 1707 became the biggest of the world power. Well, Dutch people are so generous. Through the way of self-destructive, they told the world and showed the world holy poverty is the simplest answer to the sin of greed, which came from the 7 deadly sins. Beyond that, futures market and Dutch auction can be seen as a positive legacy to the world. We do appreciate that. But to those speculators and adventurers, not even the supposed victims are sympathetic. Unfortunately, from tulip market in Amsterdam to stock market, even subprime mortgage market in New Amsterdam here, countless failure cases, countless collapse of bubbles did not stop the rapacious people to take the risk. The greed was rooted in the human nature. It's not only just for Dutch, but for all of us. With the decline of the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, France and Germany, the United States, those countries has more population, richer resources, larger size of area, and the larger domestic market. Substitute the Netherlands and play the main role in international affairs, one after another. And the ages of colonialism ended by World War I. During the First World War, Netherlands declared their neutral foreign policy and successfully escaped from the ravages of the war. But only 2 decades after, the world situation is intense again. Dutch people has an illusion about remains in the neutral foreign policy will still keep them safe. But they lose all the wagers this time. Netherlands is an important path to attack the France from the backside. So German will never waste this opportunity. Therefore, after the breakout of World War II, soon Netherlands was occupied by fascists and dominates until the end of the war. The Dutch finally paid the price for their unrealistic optimism and untimely pragmatism. During this period, Audrey Hepburn just got back from London to Netherlands. So her teenage is almost under the domination of Nazi. Fortunately, she survived in the Dutch famine, but with malnutrition. And this did impact her to give birth to a baby. And this experience in misery of her childhood is a part of the motivation to make her become to a UNICEF special ambassador. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. In the post-war period, Western Europe countries intend to eliminate further war between France and Germany and other states, of course, by tackling the root cause of war. Netherlands and other 5 countries signed the Treaty of Paris on 18th of April in 1951, which established the European Coal and Steel Community, ECSC, the first international organization to be based on superregional principles and became to predecessor of the European Union. Netherlands, as the member of the Inner Six, made a great contribution in the reconciliation between French and German. The achievement we can clearly see today in the Western Europe, they keep their peace and harmony for over 70 years. And more than that, it has a great demonstration effect. After ECSC, NAFTA, Northern American Free Trade Area, the African Union, ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asia Nations established in successions. Peace and development became to the consensus of the international society today. By the way, there's one thing I have to share. Just a couple of months ago, the Netherlands and Belgium signed a deal for a peaceful exchange of their territory as a friend. On the meandering Meuse River, which divides both nations, Belgium gave up a tiny peninsula linked only to the Netherlands and got in return a nearby piece of land from its neighbor. Belgian foreign minister said, the sign shows borders can also be changed in a peaceful manner. I was very touched when I just heard this news, particularly in compare with the behavior of Russia in East Ukraine, who is low and who is high. You got the answer. The development of the Netherlands in the post-war period is still not a plain sailing. It is full of challenges and obstacles, actually. Dutch disease is one of the most significant one. Dutch disease is an economic term that refers to the negative consequences arising from large increases in the value of a country's currency. It is primarily associated with natural resource discovery, but it can result from any large influx of foreign currency into a country, including foreign direct investment, foreign aid, or substantial increase in the natural resource prices. In the 1970s, the same economic condition occurred in the Great Britain, when the price of oil quadrupled and it became economically viable to drill for the North Sea oil off the coast of Scotland. By the late 1970s, Britain had become a net exporter of oil. It had previously been a net importer. It seems a good thing, but when the pound soared in value and the countries fell into recession, when British workers demanded higher wages and exports became uncompetitive. London cannot fix this issue. In the Netherlands, until 1990s, Prime Minister Wim Kok and his government made a deal with the employers. Within 3 years, employees cannot request an increase of salaries, and in return, employers promise during that period will not cut down the number of persons employed. Then, Dutch economy is gradually recover its competitiveness. How many countries have to consider social welfare issue in European Union today? Look at what's suffering in the peaks. The 5 Eurozone nation, which was considered as weaker economically in the following of the financial crisis. Heaven helps those who help themselves. Unfortunately, just the Dutch found the solution. I don't think the Dutch people are more clever. Maybe just those pigs countries are more lazy. They just don't want to learn from others' mistakes. as the word said, you can never wake up a person who is pretending to sleep. So the only thing I can say is good luck, peaks, and good luck, European Union. If you are talking about the land of freedom, the first impression in your mind might be the United States of America. Well, actually, there are lots of Americans are quite conservative. Deep South, for example. But indeed, in Netherlands, it is definitely a land of freedom. Personally, I think it is the most liberal, opening, but safe and civilized country on the earth. On 29th of November 2001, the Dutch Parliament voted and passed to allow the terminally ill patients to make a written request for euthanasia, also called mercy killing. This legislation makes the Netherlands become to the first country to legalize the mercy killing. Now, 15 years gone, it is still only legalized in few countries. As a competent adult, has the right of bodily self-determination, which was has the right to refuse life-prolonging treatment. I remember Albert Einstein, when he realized his last day is coming soon, he refused any medical treatment and chose to directly face the death. Obviously, to legalize euthanasia will not be an easy thing. Actually, legalize it needs a comprehensive support. Social consensus, for example, a transparent and impartial legislation system, and of course, you also need advanced medical treatment and so on. Therefore, not every country is qualified to practice euthanasia. Even in Netherlands today, they're still facing the potential of abuse of mercy killing. But anyway, Dutch people take the first step. As Armstrong said, that's one small step for a man, but one giant leap for mankind. Besides mercy killing, Netherlands is also famous for its prostitution law. Prostitution in Netherlands is legal and regulated. Surprisingly, legalized prostitution industry does not raise up the divorce rate and causes any further criminals. In fact, periodical physical examination successfully controlled the HIV and other sexual transmitted diseases to protect both ends, the sex workers and the clients. It's another positive example that the Dutch shows to the world. My personal understanding about the prostitution is that this industry has no any differences with others. Sex workers do the physical labor work to earn money. It is exactly the same as building workers, for example, in a construction site. A football player on their pitch or a basketball player on the court. As long as you will not discriminate Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant by their work, you should not discriminate the sex workers. I have no problem be friends with them. I have no problem be a neighbor with them. I have no problem to give them a ride if they need. However, I probably will never have a relationship with them. I might not be a roommate with them. And one day, if I have a daughter and she was in this industry, I probably would kick her out of my family. Well, I know lots of people might have the similar feeling with me. It's nothing about right or wrong. I recognize this is a prejudice, but this is also the current condition we have to face every day. And in order to change the social prejudice, it's not that easy and will take time. The reasons for why Netherlands is one of the young people most wanted destination are that LGBT marriages and the cannabis can be bought and sold in public. Netherlands has been Europe's least drug addicts country for a long time. Meanwhile, gross output value created by the cannabis, including tourism, exports, and related products, and of course the taxes, has also reached 2% of Dutch GDP. That's a lot. Walking on the street of Amsterdam, you will see lots of coffee shops in Rasta-style decoration. This is the right place to get weed, cannabis, and pot. Well, I did not say it's right, but just a right place, okay? Rasta is originated from Rastafari religion in Jamaica. The descendants believes cannabis will bring them wisdom, which can help them to have a better communication with God. I think this might be the reason when Americans talking about the Jamaican and usually connect with the weed and vice versa. LGBT marriages and gay pride will be another attraction for young people. The gay pride will be holding during the first week of August. In that time, Amsterdam will become a holy land for sex and love. Under the gay parade, there are also lots of sub-events. For example, Pride Walk is mainly used to promote the spirits, behaviors, and the culture of LGBT rather than celebration. Volunteers hung flags on the side of the road. Rainbow flags represent LGBT as a whole. Other tricolor flags represent those branches, for example, flag of pink, purple, and blue represent bisexuality. A horizontal tricolor flag of red, white, and blue represent they are Dutch LGBT people. If the color of black, red, and yellow means they are German LGBT people. I was kidding. Actually, a flag with the red, white, and blue is the flag of the Netherlands, and the black, red, and yellow is the flag of Germany. Well, very interesting thing is that flag of the Netherlands is the oldest tricolor flag, still in national use and has influenced both French and Russia flag. By the end of the 17th century, Peter I the Great came to power, and he decided to modernize Russia. The Dutch Republic was at that time a leading European power. This was in Holland's golden age, a perfect model for Russia. So he decided to went to Netherlands. While he was in Amsterdam, Peter worked and lived at the Dutch East India Company shipyard. Besides shipbuilding, he also learned about watchmaking, about making coffins, etchings, post-mortems, paper making, and silk spinning. He investigated the art of gardening and book printing, and maybe also include the flag designing. And due to Russian and Dutch flag are quite alike, that made a black humor. About last year this time, Turkish nationalists were trying to protest the Russian airstrikes in the Turkmen-controlled region in northern Syria. But they confused by the flag of Russia and the Netherlands. So they targeted the Dutch consulate instead of the Russian one and throwing eggs and rocks. It was not the first time the nationalists in Turkey got confused during their protests. A group of nationalists who gathered in central of Istanbul at 4th of July 2015 to protest China's domestic policy on Muslims. They attacked a group of Korean tourists and thinking that they were Chinese. Well, these things do not surprise me at all, because one of the Turkish ex-prime minister announced already. He said there is a 360-degree difference between Turkish Islam and ISIS. This is exactly what he said. A 360-degree difference between Turkish Islam and ISIS. Well, Foreign Policy magazine said it's entirely by accident. Of course, but I still think this prime minister was a quite honest person. Okay, let's get back. The design of the Dutch flag influenced many countries. Today, there are still more than 20 countries' flags using the horizontal tricolor design. And as a derivative, French flag, the vertical tricolor design, even more popular. Let's get back again. The Canal Parade is the highlight of the Amsterdam Gay Pride weekend. There are over 80 decorated boats sailing along the river in certain roads. This event is the second biggest of Amsterdam. I think I know Netherlands somehow by research, but the one thing is still confused me. Traditionally, capital is where the central government is located. For most countries, capital city means political center and economic center. For example, London for UK, Paris for France, Beijing for China. To those younger countries, sometimes their economic center and the political center are separately. For example, New York City is the biggest city in US, but the capital is in Washington, D.C. Ottawa is the capital city of Canada, but their economic center is in Toronto. Netherlands has a weird political and economic geography. Their capital city is in Amsterdam. Meanwhile, it's the biggest city and the financial center. But its government, departments, and lots of international organizations are mostly located in the city of Hague. I don't know the reason. So if anybody find the answer, please let me know. Sometimes, from the name of the city, we can guess what the terrain looks like. For example, Netherlands means low country. And I noticed Amsterdam, Rotterdam, some cities like this, they all have a suffix DAM, dam. Then I asked a Dutch friend, she told me, this is what she replied to me. It has to do with how the cities first developed. The Dutch people started building dikes and dams and other things to control the water flow and flooding. Most people traveled using the river, which at the certain points had dams to control the amount of water when they went through. When a boat got there, they needed help to get through and sometimes carries the supplies out of the boat to the other side. Since you need a lot of people to do that, villages start forming around the parts of the river that had dam. And so they named those towns after the river and dams. In Netherlands, they have a proverb that God created the world, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. Since the 13th century, Dutch has been reclaiming land from the sea. Today, there are over 20% of Dutch territory is made by the sea reclamation. Those hills are all dug for reclamation. Flevoland province is almost completely created by sea reclamation. As a Chinese, I have to say, well, it's a great achievement, but not efficient enough. Here, I wish I can help my country to promote a new technology, which was called land reclamation hydraulic fill. Referred to Asia Pacific Maritime Security Strategy 2015, as of July in 2015, all parties in the South China Sea through the reclamation made about 12.14 million square meters of land, of which about 320,000 square meters are for Vietnam, for Malaysia about 280,000 square meters, and to Philippines are accounted for about 570,000 square meters, and about 30,000 square meters land for Taiwan. According to this report, mainland China has produced more than 11.74 million square meters of land by reclamation, which is 17 times the total area reclaimed from all other parties. And the point is that to accomplish this achievement, just takes mainland China less than 20 months. So why was so fast? Of course, it's based on the new technology, land reclamation hydraulic fill. So if Dutch people are trying to reclaim more land, please don't hesitate to contact our government. We could help you to reclaim the whole area of the North Sea. And the contact information is at the bottom of this page. I'm kidding. All right, I'm hungry. Let's make some food. Stamppot, a traditional Dutch dish, which is made from a combination of a potato mashed and one or several other veggies. Due to it's a peasant dish, actually, you should never give a high expectation on certain region like UK, Germany, and the Netherlands to provide you a fascinating traditional dish, because they are used to pay more attention on their own work, their legislative construction, their manufacturing industry, their global trade business. So they don't have the culture and the tradition to indulge dissipation, particularly in compare with those southern European countries like Italy, Spain. So the recipe will be quite simple. Okay, cool. The ingredients are relatively simple. Probably will enough for 5 servings. Let's see what we have in our recipe today. It's also a pretty typical recipe. Have 3 main ingredients. For the starch, we have about 3 pounds roasted potatoes. For the veg, we have sauerkraut, about half pound, and half pound asparagus, half pound Spanish onion, and 1 pound kale. The kale looks a lot, but actually when you cook them, they're gonna shrink, so it's not a big deal. And for the seasoning, of course, we have olive oil, salt, pepper, and for the protein, we have about 1 pound pork sausage. If you can find the traditional Dutch rookworst, that will be the best. But if you can't find them, it's okay, just find a similar one. And beside that, we will have something like 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of mashed garlic, 1 teaspoon of white wine vinegar, 4 tablespoons of heavy cream, half cup of milk. So these things you can adjust the seasoning and the thickness. The first thing we need to do is to cut the potatoes in chunks and make the mashed potato. It takes time. Remember, the potato have to be reserved in water because the air will oxidize the potato and change the color. So the first thing, quite easy, just cut them into big chunks. After you're done with these potatoes, find a pot and put them in the pot and cover with cold water and put a little bit of salt. Turn on the fire, cover it, burn it to boil, and then turn the fire to a little bit relatively low. The further cooking time depends on the size of the chunk you cut, but it relatively will take about 15 minutes to 20 minutes until you feel it's fork tender. During this time, we can start to grill our asparagus. Also, turn on the fire, high flame, make the pan very hot. So when you feel it's hot, you can see the smoke. Put some olive oil. Pile the asparagus on the pan. Get some salt. Salt will make the veg to lose the moist, so make it easier to get cooked through. At this moment, don't put any black pepper because the pepper gonna burn. So after this, I will put the pepper for seasoning. Now you can see why they designed these things, because we can easily turn the asparagus. Until you see the asparagus get a very nice grill mark and they shrinked, so it's done. Turn off the fire. Take them out. Take them out. Let it cool down a little bit. After the asparagus, we can cut the sausages. Sausages, usually I will cut them crosswise, like 1/3 of an inch. Use the same pan, we can start searing our part sausage. Just pile them in the pan until both sides is golden brown. At the same time, did you see the potato is boiling? So we can turn it down into relatively medium low and keep it covered. Just be careful, don't burn it. It's not supposed that we flip everyone around and in time. So before we flip them, we can turn the fire low. To me, chopsticks might be easier. So when you flip everything around, and then you turn the fire back on to sear another side. You can see it's very nice, golden brown, and the smell is also quite good. So you're gonna check both sides because seared. Take them out. So the question is how to use the greases. Throw them away or keep them. It's a good thing, I don't want to waste them. So we're gonna use this grease to sweat the onion. To dice the onion, quite easy. You can go medium dice, you can also go small dice. It only determines the time you're cooking. Not a big deal. And also make the pan very hot. And then put the onion in the pan. During this time, we can cut our asparagus. It depends on the size of the asparagus. If it's very thick, you can just give them a straight cut. But if it's a very thin, skinny, you can give them a bias cut, like this. After the asparagus, we can check our potatoes. So when you punch a potato, you can't lift them. That means it's basically done. So we're gonna strain them. Get this strainer and put a pot under the strainer because we're gonna save some water just in case if we need to adjust the consistency of the mashed potato. We can use the potato water. It's much better than we use the flu water, right? To mash the potato, you need a big bowl, and as suggested, before you use them, you have to preheat them in the oven in low, like a 200 degree, and keep them hot. After to strain the potato, there's one more thing we need to do. Turn the fire on. We have to cook through the kale. The same thing, we need to preheat the pan. Some oil. And get the kale in. Get a wooden spoon and start to smash them. Meanwhile, put the heavy cream, milk, and butter. The kale is cooked halfway. So at this time, we can put the translucent onions together with the kale. And then we put the garlic. White wine vinegar. Turn the heat to medium-low and then cover it. Let's go back to smash the potato. When the potato is halfway mashed, you can put the sauerkraut and mix them well. Okay, now the kale is done. put them together, put everything together. Asparagus, and then mix them well. I tend to check the seasoning at the end because the kale has salt and pepper, the asparagus has salt and pepper, onions have salt, so you will never know how much salt you put in. Cut some scallion green for garnish. Now we turn to the last stage, to plating. Plating is quite simple. Get a big scoop of the mashed potato. It looks so ugly, right? But what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna pile the sausages on the side. Then we got some garnish from the scallions. The last thing is, if you have tulips, get some petal. And tear them off. Literally, the tulip bulb are poisonous. But I did heard that somebody in the Second World War, they do eat the tulip bulb. But the petal should be fine. So here's what we got, a very traditional Dutch food, stamppot. I love making food. Through the food, we can explore the history of a country, the characters of a nation, and stories of a family. Cooking is not just a way to make things edible, and eating is also not just filling your stomach. To me, it could be a bridge to link the past and the present. It might be an occasion to dissolve misunderstandings, and it would be an opportunity to meet great people. Personally, there's no peace in food as long as you dedicate your passion, enthusiasm, earnest, and imagination to it. I'm very proud to say I am the one who cooks. From those stories, as well as the dish we made today, we can realize the Dutch is a great nation. They are always generous to provide us their successful experiences, and also sincerely show us those lessons from failures. Their successful experiences may be not necessarily suitable for all countries, but those lessons from a failure might be inevitable to such countries. Anyway, there's no doubt that since the establishment of Netherlands, the Dutch have been walking in the forefront of human civilization and standing in the forefront of the times. Even in today's world, they are still in lead to exploring the cognitive boundary of a modern society. Their attitude to abortions, LGBT, criminal prostitution, drugs, mercy killing, social welfare, etc., are changing the world's long-standing prejudice. All of their contributions, both successful and unsuccessful, are valuable assets and legacy that deserve the respect from everyone in the modern society. At the end, I want to excerpt a phrase from Common Sense, which was written in 1776 by Thomas Paine, to epitomize the Dutch national character. From those stories, as well as the dish we made today, we can realize the Dutch is a great nation. They are always generous to provide us their successful experiences, and also sincerely show us those lessons from failures. Their successful experiences may be not necessarily suitable for all countries, but those lessons from a failure might be inevitable to such countries. Anyway, there's no doubt that since the establishment of Netherlands, the Dutch have been walking in the forefront of human civilization and standing in the forefront of the times. Even in today's world, they are still in lead to exploring the cognitive boundary of a modern society. Their attitude to abortions, LGBT, criminal prostitution, drugs, mercy killing, social welfare, etc., etc., are changing the world's long-standing prejudice. All of their contributions, both successful and unsuccessful, are valuable assets and legacy that deserve the respect from everyone in the modern society. At the end, I want to excerpt a phrase from Common Sense, which was written in 1776 by Thomas Paine, to epitomize the Dutch national character. I do not choose to be a common man. It's my right to be uncommon if I can. I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and endowed by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for a doll. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for handout. I will never cower before any master, nor bend to any threat. It's my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to think and act for myself, to enjoy the benefits of my creations, and to face the world boldly and say, "This, with God's help, I have done." This is what it means, the Dutch. Happy New Year to Audrey Hepburn. Happy New Year to the Dutch. God bless you. Thanks for watching.
Day after day, alone on a hill, the man with the foolish grin is keeping perfectly still. But nobody wants to know him, they can see that he's just a fool. And he never gives an answer, but the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. man of 1,000 voices talking perfectly loud, but nobody ever hears him or the sound he appears to make. And he never seems to notice what the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. And nobody seems to like him. They can tell what he wants to do, and he never shows his feelings, but the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. Sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning